Good afternoon. My name is Kirsty Dignam, and I'm here to look at the energies for this week in our weekly Monday musings. It is a lot later in the afternoon than I would normally do this video, and there seems to be an emphasis on time. And as I say that, I'm looking at a picture in front of me that I painted some time back, and it's a soul tree picture. My eyes are drawn to the branches, and what I can hear is branching out beyond time now, branching out, or it is time rather to branch out. And there feels like an emphasis of the messages that are coming through this week to be really open and almost have no opinion on them so that we can get that clarity quicker. So immediately my opinion was branching beyond time, when actually when I stepped away from having any opinion, it was obviously about branching out. When we step away from any opinion we have, we branch out and are able to reach further than our own perceived ideals, ambitions, and desires. That's not to say they're not relevant. Now, this week in particular, with Beltane, with the new moon, with new moon in Taurus, with the eclipse season, I think Mercury's about to do something. When isn't Mercury about to do something? I'll get back to that in a minute. But astrology wise, I'm not completely 100% sure what is coming, but I can feel there being a internal reflection coming up in regards to what we desire and how we communicate them, and that it's important, but also that we branch beyond our own opinions of these things. So how do we do that? Well, we let go of expectation, which is easier said than done. But the more and more as the year goes on, we are going to have expectation, the harder and harder we are going to find it to expand, to grow, to reach other areas, because our expectations as a species have become very limited, based on what we've been through, based on what we would like. And even that is very limited based on what we are capable of. Where has that come from? Well, I was trying to think of the analogy in midwifery sense, and any delivery, even those that went exactly how we wanted it, those where we felt empowered and overjoyed, can cause a certain aspect of trauma to the body, to our energy, all changes, whether we want them, whether we sail through them, whether we kick and scream as they are occurring, comes with an element of trauma. Why? Because we have expectations of how something will be, we have expectations of how we will grow from that, what we will learn, how we will be in any scenario. And that really feels like it's coming to light this week in particular. So over the weekend with Beltane, I actually decided to journey with the wands with a dear friend of mine, and the 9 days leading up to that in the tarot were absolutely fine. Very Taurus like. I was very surprised, being a fire sign, to see that my own energy was very grounded, provided I did gardening, cooking, eating, all those Taurian things, really appreciating what I have, really going with the flow, my own connection, my own power, my own spirit, my own fire, wand like energy flowed beautifully until yesterday. And in the background, what had been rising was an underlying shadow aspect in regards to my own abundance, in regards to flow, in regards to how I have personally manifested change, coped with change, and actually changed as a result. And these things rise to the surface for us to see whether there is still change that is needed there, or whether we've actually moved forward. And yesterday, even though it was the same scenarios that had come up, my whole energy around it had changed, it had shifted. And with great gratitude, I could then appreciate everything that had happened as a result. So, what am I getting at here? It is all about how we see our own desires. It is all about how we desire change. It is all about whether or not we initiate change, whether we balance that change with what is going on with the universe, and whether or not we can recognize that that is one and the same. Okay, so there was a big emphasis this morning with today's reading about recognizing that I was part of the collective consciousness, that we are all part of the collective consciousness, and whatever we are going through individually, actually the world at a large is going through it. And we do know these things, but it feels very much this week not to get too lost in our own individual stuff. And to recognize that we are all, today I'm on the Ten of Wands, that we are all carrying our own version of what is going on collectively. And the more we shift, heal, change, work our way through that, the more that will have an impact on the world that it is we are trying to create, which is the other aspect that's coming through. It's not that our own desires aren't important. It's not that our own ambitions and passions aren't important, but it is recognizing that they are so important. They are actually part of something far bigger than us. And if we can let go of our own individual small version of this by releasing any expectations, even the fact that it needs to be a lesson. It's not a lesson, it's a cultural exchange that is occurring. If we can let go of the terminology lesson, what is happening is we are growing collectively. So if we can release our individual view of what is occurring, we can finally start to branch out and expand to what it is we are now here to do. There's been a big emphasis this year on 2022 about being the year we do us, the year we do you. Yeah, the 2022, the year you do you. That's the first thing that was coming through last year in 2021. A lot of the guidance. But our own perspective of who we are has thwarted what we are doing. Our own view of our own limitations, of our own journey, of our own identity has really limited what we are able to do. So this week I'm doing my garden, and financially there's many things that I can't afford, and I'm doing a rockery. So instead, with permission, every time I walk with my dog, I'm collecting flint on my back in a backpack, and I didn't realize the strength that I had. And that feels very poignant this week, this weekend, as we go into the first half of this year, a chance to reflect, to look back at the strength that we actually have gained throughout all of this. It's going to help expand our view on ourselves and each other, and it's going to help then to prepare us for the second half of this year. From now until the solstice, that's what I hear, from now until the solstice, we are going to be shown aspects where we have grown. But if we don't let go of how we think that growth and change should have occurred, we're not going to see how we have branched out. We're not going to see how much we have actually grown. So it is really seeing ourselves this week in particular with fresh eyes, our journey this week in particular with completely fresh eyes. And that may require, what I'm seeing is a lot of healing needed, perhaps soul retrievals, cleansing of our own energy this week in particular could be very beneficial for many. Okay, is there anything else? Yes, the microphone, which I hope is working because it's flashing. But my microphone was flashing and then it wasn't flashing, and I did a couple of takes and they all sounded the same, and then I realized the wire wasn't plugged in properly, so I plugged in the wire and did a couple of takes again, and they're still the same. And that feels relevant to whatever Mercury is about to do, knowing that no matter how connected we are, no matter whether we have certain sound effects, whether we mute ourselves, whether we speak loud, whether we change, our voice, whether it's channeling, whether it's us, what needs to be spoken will be spoken. Okay, so it is really down to us. I really feel that flipping almost in my liver, in my solar plexus, and it's on a very soul level, and in regards to soul family, soul tribe, excuse me, bit of a tracking there, and I really feel called to just sit and pat on my heart, and just like a real calling home of our soul and our soul tribe. So a lot of the things that have come up for me in particular have left me not fitting in certain groups and certain places and certain belief systems and things like that. And that's been very hard, as it is for all of us, to stick with what is right for us. It is far easier to blend and mold in, isn't it? It's far more comfortable. As society, we want to belong. But if we don't belong to ourselves, we never truly belong to any situation. So the last 6 months for me in particular have been very much about standing in who I am, and that's going to become ever more poignant throughout the year, because that is going to be reflected back to us. So it's going to be reflected back to us when we're not standing in who we are, and it's going to be reflected back in the situations that we attract and the people that we attract. And this tapping, this microphone, this Mercury, this communication, it's like, it doesn't matter how we speak. It doesn't matter how loud we speak or who hears us. It is whether or not our heart hears us, whether or not our soul, family, and tribe can hear us from our actions, from our energy. And the more we stand this week in particular in who we are, the more we are going, there's the saying, our vibe attracts our tribe. And I do firmly believe we're all part of the collective consciousness. However, it does seem as if many have almost wandered from the pack, which is great. That's what wolves do. They wander from the pack, they find out the information they need, and then they return to the pack. And it does feel like many returning back to a place where they can really get firm roots this week in particular and grow into who they are, surrounded by those that can see that can reflect that back to them. So this week in particular, surrounding yourself with people that reflect back your ability to change and grow and branch out, not your limitations and restrictions. And that feels very poignant this week. Okay, so, or at least to look at how you perceive yourself and how that is being reflected back to you, and how you may be adding to that. Okay. Oh, right. I'm going to use the Light Seers Tarot this week. It felt quite relevant. I've actually met the creator. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But I've met Chris and Donnelly, the creator of the Light Seers Tarot, and just an incredible soul. And I was blessed enough to meet her in Canada and bought the tarot when they first came out. So really blessed to have that. Where are we going with this? That initial to be there at the birth almost of them going public. And there's something in that. There's something in embracing the people that were there at the beginning of our journey, embracing the people that were our midwives, that were there cheering us on the whole way through. Yeah, really seeing that this week. It feels quite relevant. Okay, so we've got Judgment on the bottom of the pack, and there's a real emphasis there about rising above how we see ourselves now. Can't quite see that card. So I went to use some spray today, and the spray that I picked from Amanda Ellis is the Higher Self Connection Spray, and it's to do with awareness and intuition, and there's none in the bottle. there's no more in there. And that felt very relevant, that actually I'd reached that point of being connected now to that higher self and intuition. And this week in particular, the areas that we may not quite be there yet are going to be reflected. Why? Because we are being asked to rise now. We are being asked from now until the solstice to really let go of the judgments that we have on ourselves, first and foremost, and how we see ourselves, because we cannot branch out if we see ourselves in a certain way. And there's a great comfort in being a wallflower, in remaining smaller than we are, and I can totally relate to that. However, this week in particular, there's going to be some shoves, because it's not just about our own individual desires anymore. And it's about that voice of desire. That could be for someone in particular, but that voice of desire being louder, speaking louder now and being heard. Um, a lot of times we can do things because they feel good and they feel right on a soul level. A lot of my services at the moment are being offered on a donation basis, and it's not something I need or want to get into anymore. I've looked at this energy from so many angles throughout my whole life. I've done a great healing journey with abundance, gone through my own process, which came up again at the weekend, and I can hand on heart say at this point in time I am done with that. I have risen above any judgment I have on myself or others or whatever. Doesn't need explanation. And as a result, I'm offering things on a donation level, and that makes me feel good. That makes me feel as if I'm doing my part to create a world that I'm trying to be part of, where we help each other. It isn't an expectation on other people, but it's something I feel drawn to do on a soul level. What really came to me this weekend is this one spark, this one that feels really nice to do, is actually far bigger than I could have ever imagined. And I'm seeing it play out around me and that knock on effect around me. And it's a beautiful thing to see and to be part of. So, really, this weekend, maybe, I was going to say this week, but this weekend in particular, those little things that just feel right for your soul, whether they make sense to anybody else is totally irrelevant. And there'll be quiet little whispers that will just feel okay and feel right. Those little things that just feel right to your soul, really follow them, because actually they're calling you home to yourself, to your tribe, and to your path here beyond the judgments now. Those little voices, allow them to really speak and help you rise up above any judgment that you may have on that little desire. Okay, so because it is us that see it as a little desire, it's actually much bigger. These desires are much bigger on the healing path than we realize. My own journey with abundance and donation and irony and things like that have taught me so much about giving and receiving, have taught me so much about the lover's energy, the card that I actually am in the tarot, or one of them. Taught me much about my soul, which is a number 6, which is all about these energies. So it can seem like something really small, but if we allow this spark, this desire to branch, it could bring more healing, more joy, more change than anything in our life. So really, really going with that this week. Okay. Energies this week. I'm getting out of my own head because there's a lot coming up. A lot of ancestral, a lot of karmic shifts in my own life occurring. And then I wonder, why am I getting out of my own head? Because I am part of the collective too. So this week in particular, ancestral karmic shifts occurring with people that you may not have considered your ancestors, but that have been in previous lives. The world, the world card. Yeah, really being aware of that, really being aware of the things that we may have signed up to with people, and knowing that because we've agreed to do things with certain people, there is big shifts occurring in past life karmic relationships between us and those that we are currently working with and alongside. You may feel yourself drawn to particular Instagram accounts or Facebook accounts or whatever, and think, why am I back on here? Cards feel very heavy all of a sudden. 4 of Cups. Why am I back here? Because actually there's still something there. Okay, so maybe looking into accounts or things that you may feel drawn to and seeing what is being reflected back to you. Okay, so energy this week. Nearly dropped that one. So I nearly dropped the card then, and it was the Knight of Pentacles, and it was as I was actually thinking about comparison, and a lot of us thinking, wow, I'm doing the same as that person, I'm doing the same as that person. And it was the Knight of Pentacles. And there's something there about walking away from that energy now, because we could do exactly the same as somebody, but it would never be the same. We can never walk in someone's footprints. We can never walk someone's journey for them. And we most definitely do not do things the same. Okay, so everything that we share is from source, it's from the collective, and it all has our own individual take on it. And that doesn't mean that there isn't a place. So what I'm getting is a sensation of people perhaps thinking about doing particular things, but being concerned that there's already a lot of that out there already. Again, it's about bringing your uniqueness to the table. So not doing things the same as people, but we can all do certain things, we can all talk about the same things, but we all have our own different spin and our own different energy on it, and it's all valuable and it's all needed at the moment. And really grounding in that, knowing that that's the seeds that you are leaving on your journey. Okay, right. I will get to the cards. Energies this week, please. And there's something that I was thinking, energies this week, please. And I found myself like, please, what is going on? And there's some of that this week. There's some of that this week, like what is actually going on? And what I can see is many different energies, many different possibilities, all merging into one, and to kind of let go and go with whatever feels right. Whatever feels right for your own identity, to put your own mark on things this week. To recognize what is going on for you and not get too caught up in what is going on around us. And I feel some apprehension there, some fear there. My throat feels dry, my higher heart feels quite, ooh, what is going on? You know, a lot of the times we can get very distracted by what is going on outside of us, so that we don't all have to face what is going on internally. And you know, let's bring it back now. Let's bring it back. Let's really hone in to what is going on for us, so that we can then have that impact we're being asked to bring in our own journey for the collective. Right, okay, with that in mind. And then I can feel the energy really clarifies itself. Yeah, then we have death. Yeah, then we have death and rebirth. Okay, so it is about recognizing what is going on for you. What do you bring to the table? What do you need in order to do that this week? Okay. Monday. Well, there's 2 for Tuesday. Tuesday. Wednesday. There's 2 for Wednesday. Thursday. Friday. Saturday. Sunday. Overall. So with death and rebirth on the bottom of the pack, overall the energy of the week is the Knight of Wands. And I just love this version of the Knight of Wands, because she's banging her own drum. And what I hear is the song, and the beat goes on, and the beat goes on. Yeah, bang your own drum this week. Find your own rhythm this week in particular. Dance to your own song this week. And that feels like the underlying message. Okay. And being great and free and happy in that, letting that fire build, letting that passion build, letting that spark, no matter how small it is, drive you forward now. So today, on the Monday, we have the Queen of Pentacles, and there is a bit of comfort here. Yeah, which is beautiful. Bit of groundedness, bit of comfort, bit of, oh yes, I'm happy with where I am. Do I really want to change? You know, it's that. The most nurturing thing we can do for ourselves is to know when to grow, okay? And it is to know and have peace in our ability to do that. So some of the things that have come up this weekend have been uncomfortable for many. I'm very aware of that, but to also know that they are Pachamama's nurturing swift kick up the bottom from the mother, okay, to say, come on child, it's time to walk. Yeah, come on child, it's time to grow, it's time to learn, it's time to, yeah, I have great plans for you, great visions for you, and it's time now. Okay, and to know that we're always guided and always held by Pachamama, the great mother, always supported, but to recognize that, yeah, gosh, that really looks like me at the moment with the cushion in the chair, and yeah, just that's, you can't quite see that, but yeah. And her pentacle almost looks like the drum of the Knight of Wands. So really being confident. Yeah, so many words going around my head then. It was like complacent, passionate, aware, no, confident in your rhythm and your connection. And being at peace, knowing that the changes are going to come. They're going to come one way or another. And being grounded in that and just doing what we need to do in each moment, today in particular. And if we can allow space for that, then tomorrow we have the Ace of Wands and the Six of Pentacles, two cards that wanted to come out for tomorrow. We're the fifth month, aren't we? Okay, I'll keep an eye on that. Two cards that wanted to come out for tomorrow. So the Ace of Wands, which I can already feel building and have done since Beltane, this opening of the third eye. Yeah, I really, really felt that energy the last few days here, and expansion. So I know that this weekend there was a lot of information about expanded love coming through, with it being Taurus, which very much reminds me of the Queen of Pentacles, but a lot of expanded love coming through. And love is so multifaceted and so unconditional that it would be different for everybody. It will be, love is exactly what we need in each moment. And, for those that are struggling financially, that expansion would be there. About self-worth with our finances. For those that are struggling in relationships, to open up and to receive. No, yes, it's all about receive. It's all about receive Tuesday. And it's really, really, really opening our awareness, our vision now when it comes to giving and receiving. Really, really, really being aware of that. And there are those that give and don't receive in balance. There are those that receive and don't give in balance. And that's going to be brought to light in regards to how we see things, and a new way of seeing things in particular, a new way of seeing ourselves as the balancer of flow, as the mother of what it is we are creating. So on the Wednesday, we have two cards. We have two cards because I decided that there would be two cards. Now, I could have waited until the Friday to use that energy, but actually it felt poignant. Pulling out the Five of Swords on the Wednesday, that nagging voice, oh, but if I do this, then how am I going to do this? And, if I give this, then what if I don't get this back? Or whatever. Whatever is occurring, whatever nagging thought is stopping you from embracing the freedom that is waiting for you. The answer is the Queen of Swords. Okay, and it does feel on the Wednesday to make that decision to bring in that energy, just like I did with the cards. So when, oh, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that, take it up. Take that energy up. So this weekend I did struggle with a few things, and there were things that I could do nothing about. So I handed it over, yeah, to your higher self or your ancestors or God or source, whatever you believe in, but hand it over. Can I do anything about that right now? No. Five of Swords is a halfway point if you want that change. Instead of letting this voice nag in this insecurity, this mental limitation, this mental perspective of how we see ourselves, instead of it sitting on our shoulder constantly nagging, free it, let it go. Yeah, decide, make that decision. That is not how I choose to see this world. That is not how I choose to see my journey. That is not how I choose to see myself and others. And it is really, really down to us on the Wednesday, and I absolutely adore it because we have had the Queen of Swords and King of Swords 2 weeks ago, the Queen of Cups and King of Cups 1 week ago, might have been the other way around, and this week we have the Queen of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. So again, we're really balancing that masculine and feminine. We've done it mentally, emotionally. Just wondering if we had the wands. Either way, this week in particular, it is about physically balancing our feminine and masculine, our intuition and our actions, really balancing them in everything that we physically do. And I love this card because we have that wolf analogy here. And what it really feels like on the Thursday is that grounding, that solid grounding, and wealth comes from being with our tribe. attracting our soul family, really connecting to our own rhythm and our own beat. And, on this card, he has a lot of books and he's sat in a library, but they're all sat behind him. He's not constantly looking at them anymore. He's looking at what's in front of him, what has landed in his lap as a result. Okay. Now, I was just about to say, I'm not saying things have landed in our lap, but there is that potential. There is that potential on the Thursday. If we can keep our thoughts, instead of this, oh, what am I going to do? But keep our thoughts, okay, I'm just going to keep my thoughts clear and just keep seeking clarity and guidance and expanding my mindset here. There is that potential of things landing in our lap on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in particular. And on the Friday, well, that then opens up all these options emotionally, and it's like, well, I don't know now. I don't know which one I actually want to go for here. Okay, so this is the Seven of Cups, and I like this because it reminds me of the singing bowls, the seven chakras here. Now, what happens when there's a big shift? Yes, our energy centers take on that knock-on effect and things start to shift and move around, and areas that have been blocked will rise up, to be seen. And it feels like on the Friday almost a energetic laxative as a result of whatever lands in our lap on the Thursday. An energetic laxative on the Friday, which is necessary for healing and necessary for us to make a very clear decision now on what it is we want to take forward. On the Saturday, we have the Three of Swords, and yes, this card can represent heartache and it can represent splitting and things like that, but actually in this card, it's being repaired. The Three of Swords is finally being repaired. Just can't quite see that, can you? Okay, and you can see that she's speaking. She's speaking, she's screaming, she's voicing her pain. And when that happens, when we voice our journey, when we speak of what has occurred, it's going back to the original part of this video. It is heard by the soul. It is heard and reflected back by the soul family. Yeah, it is heard by us, and the healing starts to happen. And then on the Sunday, we have the Knight of Cups. Now, overall, we have the Knight of Wands and we have a horse in the background. Yeah, and we have beautiful fiery energy, and she's free and just banging to her own drum there. On the Sunday, we also have a horse and we also have a knight, and it's a masculine, and it's the Knight of Cups here. And he's not so fiery. Yeah, he's a lot more relaxed, he's a lot more calm, as is the horse in the background. It is this week about deciding what passion is being taken forward. Is it spiritual passion? Is it drive? Is it creativity? Or is it from our emotions? They are one and the same, but the difference being, is it from our physical human emotions or from our higher self spiritual awareness? Our emotions can make us react, make us call out, like the Three of Swords can really, we can become aware of that pain. We can cause that pain by the things that we say this week in particular. And that can then bring divine spiritual intervention, or we can stand in our own energy. We can look at our own stuff. We can hold space for ourselves, and repair that broken heart. And the broken heart feels like it's the tear between our passion, drive, ambition, wishes, and our emotions around it. It feels like that is what needs repairing this week. Again, our own view on how we see the things that we want in life. We can talk about expanded love, but if we're not at the place of receiving that expanded love, that can almost feel like we're hitting our head against a brick wall with the things that we want because we're not willing to be open to receive them. So this week it is really looking at why we're not quite open to receive what it is that we want. Otherwise, that expanded love that is coming in, that growth, that branching out that is coming in from the soul, could be quite traumatic. The change is there anyway, regardless, and it is whether or not we are able to sit, hold space, and open to it, or whether we are going to fight it every step of the way, this week in particular. Okay, so let's summarize. What do we have? The only major arcana we have this week was actually at the bottom of the pack, and I say the only major arcana, but it's death and rebirth. Okay, so it is kind of like the only energy this week. Everything that is occurring is about death and rebirth. It is about change. It is about, last week we were being built for a necessary change because we had death last week, and it was being built up for a necessary change this week. It's like those changes have happened. We now need to adapt to them in our actions because the rest of the cards are minor arcana. So very, very much about us this week. But the guiding force still there is change and endings and new beginnings of how we've wanted this year to be. Okay, so we have, it does feel as if this week can be quite tiring. So why is that? Unnecessary searching, unnecessary need for clarification, unnecessary need for proof, unnecessary digging, unnecessary. So all of these things come, I say unnecessary, and I don't mean that in a flippant way, I mean that in a higher energy way. If we could see ourselves through the eyes of the soul, then we wouldn't keep doing all these things to shift certain patterns. It would be very easy. Healing would be very quick if we could be in the energy of the soul. But understandably, on a human level, we do need to understand what is going on, and we do want to know the ins and outs of things. But that this week could make us feel very tired. It's very much about trusting the soul and letting things be what they need to be, because the unnecessariness comes from our own expectations and judgments, whether we like that or not. You know, we can really do, I've done it myself, a lot of healing and a lot of shifting and look into a lot of shadow work and a lot of things which comes from a place of not feeling good enough. And part of that healing can really be this week recognizing I don't have to learn that anymore. Feel that. I know that. I don't have to learn that anymore. I just need to apply it to what I do. Unnecessary trauma this week, coming from trauma. I'm really, really looking at that. Okay, so we have two wand cards, and it's the Knight of Wands and the Ace of Wands. So there's a lot of beginning, fast moving energy there, and that is where the unnecessariness can come from, because the idea is new. It's new and it gives us enough energy to almost run a marathon, but it's new. This idea is new. If we allow it to be new, if we rush ahead without embracing where we're at the moment, then that idea isn't going to be new anymore. It's going to, and I really feel that. I feel like a real heaviness in my arms and my chest, just like stop, pause, let this be something different. You know, when we charge in, we're doing so with old patterns and old beliefs and old ways, and it then can't be new. Stop and allow this to be something different. Okay, so we then have 1, 2, 3 sword cards, and it's the Five of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and the Three of Swords. And I almost wanted to go to the Pentacles first, so being very aware of the impact our thoughts have on our body this week in particular. And sometimes we might not be aware of the monkey mind, but if we go into our body, we can feel that something's not quite right, and that's when we can see where our head is at this week. Really letting our body guide us in regards to where we are mentally. So sword wise, we have the Five of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and the Three of Swords, and it's recognizing that nagging voice on our shoulders, that insecurity, that judgment, that comparison, all of it has come from heartbreak. It has come from pain, and rather than just shrugging it off or ignoring it, We have the Queen of Swords here. The Queen of Swords, yes, she can be very clear and very to the point, but she's still the queen. She's still the feminine. She's still nurturing and embracing and embodying. So really holding space for that pain to be seen for what it is, for that pain to be heard. Yeah, so that we can then be aware of it rather than it be in our subconscious this week. And it's that reflection that's going to help us move forward. So we then have 1, 2, 3, double check, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 pentacles. And I had to double check then. And we do have the 3 pentacles, which is the 3 of pentacles, and that's help coming in. And it felt important to pause, take a breath, double check that there's 3. Double check what is in front of us physically. Double check what is being offered to us and what we are giving, because the 3 pentacles are the Queen of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles, and the 6 of Pentacles. So really intuitively looking at our actions here when it comes to giving and receiving. Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? Where are we doing it? When are we doing it? And what are we getting back in return? And being very honest about that this week. So I'm 100% honest that I do things from a donation point of view because A, my journey, my own path of poverty and not being able to afford things has helped me to empathise with those in the same situation. B, it's like a game between me and the universe. The balance always seems to come in one way or another. C, it's expanded my own growth in regards to trust and abundance. But also D, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. So I get that as well. So being aware, and when we're aware of what it is we're actually gaining from our actions, then they do come into balance. And we don't get that, oh, well, I've done this for that person and not got this, but being aware of the choices that we make in regards to what we give and how we receive, and being aware of how open we are to what it is we're receiving. I could very easily sit there and go, well, I do it because I'm a saint. I have my benefits as well from doing this. And, it's about recognizing them this week. It's about really recognizing the bigger vision behind why we do what we do, why we receive and why we give what we do, and really being aware of the shadow and the light aspect of that this week and how that affects our physical place here, our finances, our body, all that sort of thing. Okay, and then we have cup card wise, 7 of Cups and the Knight of Cups. Quaps, to say quaps. Some confusion there. I can really feel it in my mind, and that's the emphasis. When our emotions are in our mind and we're trying to think about them, there's going to be confusion there. So when something is offered to us this week from the Knight of Cups, really feeling into how genuine it feels rather than being in our head, which could still have trauma. There could still have beliefs and patterns and certain perspectives and judgments. So really feeling in our heart, are we ready to receive it? We can get a lot of things that I really want this, and I really need this relationship, this job, this home, this money, this purpose, this all of it. Are we ready in our heart to receive? I really feel that from Spirit. Are we ready in our heart to receive the longings we've been asking for? And this week it is that we look at. It is that will branch us out. It is that will call our soul home to us and our soul tribe and our soul purpose and our soul potential, being ready to receive this download to the heart that is just waiting, and if we don't feel ready to receive that, why don't we feel ready to receive that? Is it self-worth? Is it that we don't believe we've done enough work? Is it that we don't want to get our hopes up? Is it that we don't believe what's being offered to us? Why? I walked today with my dog doing my prayers and things like that I normally do, and I picked up a stone to do with abundance. Actually, now I can see why that would come in that one there. But anyway, picked up this stone to do with abundance, with permission, and just reciting things over and over with this stone. And I actually found myself saying I do believe in miracles, and really having to feel into that, because the last few years for everybody longer have been so difficult. And it can feel like we are on our own. It can feel like we have to do things on our own. And to an extent, that has been necessary to really see our own strength, the strength that I was speaking about in the beginning, to be really aware of the strength that we have gained. However, allowing that belief, that miracle, that hope to come back into the heart this week is really, really essential. So, one last card, the Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, that's the growth needed now. That is the growth needed now from our own hands, our own actions. Yeah, if we've had to do these things on our own, and if we've come this far and we've gained this strength, then we too can be the very miracle that we have been searching for. The Hierophant, keeper of the sacred. And that is what a lot of this journey has been about for us all. How do we keep things sacred? How do we recognize ourselves as keeper of the sacred? Keeper of the flame really came up this weekend in particular over Beltane. Keeper of the creative flame. The I will say the feminine creator. Really, really recognizing that that's what we are. Yeah, we are holding space for this new vision, this new way of being, and recognizing that in our actions this week, really looking out for it, or really finding someone that will reflect it back if we can't see it. I think that is it, actually. Yes, because I've just pulled the Five of Cups, and it is time to let that go now, to really step into who it is we agreed to be when we came here. Take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.